Can you tell everybody how much money you made last year in 2022 as a part-time signing agent?
Yeah, I made about $68,000.
Another on the road with signing agent Barbara out in the great state of New Jersey. How you doing today, Barbara?
I'm doing great, great.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad because like all these stories, yours is as inspiring as any of them. So let's just get out the gate with some inspiring stats. Last year was 2022 in a correcting market. You are a
Right.
part-time signing agent. Can you tell everybody how much money you made last year in 2022 as a part-time signing agent?
Yeah, I made about $68,000.
$68,000 in a correcting market, part-time. She's a little bit more than part-time. How many hours roughly do you work every week?
I work about 30 hours a week.
Yeah, so she's like in between part-time and full-time, still crazy inspiring. And the best part is, Barbara looks extremely good for her age. Barbara, can you tell me about how old you are?
Yeah, I am 66. And
66. 66 years young. I say that to inspire everybody that, this is one of the best businesses, in my opinion. Doesn't matter your age. Doesn't matter if you're 20. Doesn't matter if you're 74, like Sherry Stratford, one of our students, or somewhere in between, like you. This is a business where you're really judged on your work and really nothing else. So,
yeah.
Barbara, I'm excited to have you. You're inspiring on so many different levels. A part-time signing agent doing 60,000 plus in a correcting market, insane. So let's start from the beginning. I think you've seen a few of these interviews. I just kind of want to let everybody know, like, what got you to be a signing agent. Kind of start from there.
Sure. Well, back in 2017, I did a home equity line of credit with my bank, and they offered to have us close at my house versus the branch. And I didn't even know it was a thing, but I said, yeah, come to my house. So a woman came to my house, and I was so intrigued by what she was doing. I don't know, her job seemed to excite me. And it turns out, I mean, it was definitely clear to me she was doing this to supplement income. And
Mhm.
in our discussion, I found out she was in her early 70s and she was supplementing her Social Security income. In the meantime, I was working full time in software sales. And I thought, well, this will be a great side hustle. And it's like something to think about for my future.
Yeah, I got it. So I love how it was inspiring. Again, this is my point, right? The signing agent came to your house with 70 something, right? It really is the best business ever. So you got inspired. You're like, oh my gosh, great side hustle. Fast forward a couple years and let people know kind of the decision where you kind of really decided to go all
Yeah.
in on this business.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was about a year and a half in, and my whole division was, I guess is the best way to say it. We all got let go, all of
Right.
us. And I was 62 at the time. And, I had a decision to make. I'd been through it before, where, let's talk about what it is, ageism. And I, felt like, do I really want to go on job interviews in corporations for software sales? Who wants to talk to a 62-year-old?
Mm.
Um, and the fact of the matter is, I was interviewing with people who, were maybe half my age
Mhm.
or even less. And knowing that I, super duper qualified and could run circles
Yeah.
probably, you know, I knew that I wasn't being perceived that way. So, basically, I didn't want to put myself through what, can be humiliating or being misunderstood. Um, and, realizing, I can be president at 80 or be in Congress,
Yeah.
but it's hard to get a corporate job in your early 60s, even when you look like this.
Yo, I almost know what to say to that because I think it's so just wrong that ageism even exists, right? I mean, the fact to your point that you can run circles around the hiring manager who is half your age trying to tell you what you're worth at 62, and you're not the only, 60 something person trying to re-enter the workforce. And I can see how there'd be a lot of pressure on just going through that moment. It must so much put so much weight in letting someone else determine your worth when, like you said, you can run circles around them, and so you made a decision at that point. Well, goodness, that was awesome. You were a part-time signing agent up to that point, right? Doing it as a side hustle is what I should say. and then you made the decision to go all in on your business. Talk to maybe another 60-year-old watching this, because Barbara, I shared with you, I literally get all the time, will they hire somebody my age? And honestly, if I can be honest with you, that breaks my heart, because it makes me sad that anyone would even write that sentence. Would they hire me at my age? Like, yes, they will hire you if you can do what you're supposed to do.
Well, anybody in my age group would already know from a decade or two earlier about ageism.
Mm.
We sort of kind of came up with ageism. So even in our 40s, I remember being in sales and people go, well, we need an easy solution because we have guys over 40 here. And I was like 44 at the time. It's like, oh yeah, those old guys got to have an easy solution. So, we're used to hearing it. Anybody, my age, older, into their 70s, we've heard it. And so I think that's why, at 62, I think I was better prepared mentally to make the decision not to put myself through that. I would tell anybody going into this business, it is a great way to be able to manage your time, be able to do whatever you want, and supplement whatever income that you have.
Right.
That's what I would encourage people to do. Plus, it's good exercise for the brain.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Go on that a little bit more, by the way.
So it just, education is really important, and I stay on top of it. Plus, I really thought that being a signing agent, it would be sort of an isolated business. And it turns out I meet more people and interact with more people in a day than I did when I was selling software.
Mm-hmm.
So not only the people I meet through your program across the country, but then through our local networking and so on, and then the law firms I do signings in and the title companies I work with and so on. So you have to stay current, on top of technology and on top of, the information, the content. So I think it's just really healthy all the way around. I think it contributes to longevity.
Yeah, well, it's funny. So we had Sherry Stratford on one of these about, I don't know, a year and a half ago. She was 74. And she's like, Mark, I found that if I didn't use my brain, I'd lose my brain. And so, and when you say that, it kind of signifies almost the same thing. It's like, look, if you don't use it, you lose it. And this keeps you. So speaking to someone else who's in their 60s or even 70s, you're not even close, but maybe another signing agent watching this who is like, it really is all about keeping you sharp. You still have conversations, like you say, you still got to have, the acumen. And so it kind of really keeps the brain moving and clicking. Am I kind of close with that?
You're very close. And, I want to jump back to a comment I made. I took a little break for a short while, and suddenly, and people will relate to this, that I suddenly felt like I was in God's waiting room. And then I was remembering things and whatever. So I just I don't need this break. I dove right back in. And now I can't imagine stopping work when all I did was think about, I'll retire one day. I don't think I ever will. And this job, you have to. You can be as old as you want and do it.
Yeah, and or as young as you want. I mean, honestly, I kind of said in the beginning of this conversation, it's, this is one of those rare businesses where, it doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter if you're an immigrant, you barely speak English. It's like, can you walk a borrower through where the dates and signatures are? And if you can do that with any errors, they're going to hire you again. And it's really cool. And I think a lot of, when I get those emails that break my heart, I'm like, they're going to hire someone as old as me. And it's like, yes, just do the job. And age does not matter. And I can't say I can relate to the ageism because I can't, but I know I will say that it's very unfair that you or anybody, and even ageism on the younger side, right? It should always be about, can you execute, period. And to figure that you felt that since your 40s is literally just crazy to me. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that, by the way, because I don't think enough of our wiser students, get up and they share that. And because there's a lot of people right now, 60 plus on YouTube, who are searching for ways to make money. And so we feel like they're only 20-year-olds who do that. I'm like, no, I think you'd be surprised who jumps on YouTube at 2 a.m. It's just not 20-year-olds, and because I get the emails, I can read the emails when they were sent, 2 a.m., Well, like people hire me if I'm this old. So it really, thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you this question. I might be jumping ahead a little bit. The majority of your business is direct. We're going to talk about that later. But when you walk in, now you look really good for being 66. I'm gonna be completely honest. But my question of saying that is, do you feel ageism in this industry? When you tell someone you're 66, do they look at you a different way? Do you feel any of that being a signing agent, getting business direct?
I don't. There's a couple of components that I think really people care about, and that is, does this person know what they're doing?
Mhm.
How do they treat our clients?
Mhm.
And how do they act like with integrity? What do they do if they make a mistake? It's really all about the quality of the work that you deliver. And I got the nicest compliment when I first started doing this, and being a lot older than everybody. One of the title companies that I was using, they said, your work is impeccable.
Mhm.
And I thought, wow, because you don't know how you're doing unless you
Right.
hear it from somebody else. So that's an advantage that we have. We've seen a lot, we've done a lot. We know when to be impeccable, and
Yeah.
then we know when we can just chill. And that's the beauty of this business at this age, the balance that it gives you between being impeccable and doing everything else that you want to do.
Yeah, no, I love what you said there. I love how like you tied in because I tell all you students to bring in your previous jobs or your experience into being a signing agent, but you brought kind of your experience just with age and time and you feel like that attributes to your success. And I'm saying that
Mm.
just for someone else who may be watching this 50 something, 60 something, like you just basically said that
70 something.
70 something, that using your wisdom, because that's really what you said without saying it is the wisdom that you only can get with age, that has made you a better signing agent. So yeah, I think for our students or someone listening who is wiser, I'll use that term. You shouldn't look at it as a crutch. You should actually look at it as a positive attribute, is what I'm hearing from you.
It is. It's absolutely a positive attribute.
And I love what you said is like, I've never felt the ageism here. And again, it's because of your work. No one else cares about anything else except for error free. You make a mistake, I'll get it fixed. And then anyways, I love this conversation. Thank you so much for, talking about something that a lot of people don't talk about. So I appreciate your vulnerability, but
Pleasure.
let's get to what I think is just as inspiring. And that's kind of your income, right? I mean, so, you do this 20, 30 hours a week. You've made 60,000 in a correcting market, but you've been doing this for 4 years. So let's take people back kind of in the beginning, because what I want to show is a consistency of someone doing this part-time, right? So you don't necessarily need to do the $15,000 a month, right? You just like your 20, 30 hours a week, making 60,000. So I'm looking at my notes down here, so roughly what did you make your first year as a signing agent? I think you started
It's a
roughly,
half a year,
yeah,
38,000.
30,000 first. I mean, I hope everybody heard that. This is
Exactly half a year.
pre-COVID, everybody. Everybody thinks that you only can make money during COVID. We're about to prove some people wrong. Okay, so 2018, 30,000 half a year. 2019, what did you make part-time?
I made 60,000 in 2019,
60,000.
at
What'd you make
least.
what'd you make in 2020?
I made about the same.
Yeah.
With COVID shut down and everything, I made about the same.
And then 2021 was good to everybody.
Up towards 70,000.
Yeah. And so what I want to show, and then last year you did, 60,000. What I think is inspiring, by the way, is this consistency of your income, right? You're not one of those students who did 120, 150,000, right? You're loving life. You're working 30 hours a week, making 60, 70 grand. I mean, how incredible is this? When I say that out loud over the past 5 years, like what feelings are going through you?
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting. And what's nice about this, all along the way, in each year, I get to make new choices, whether
Mm.
if it's because of the economy, because of pandemics, because my mother, I need to take care of her, whatever it is. But I have managed to maintain the same income, relatively the same income. But the interesting part is that I actually do fewer closings now and make more money per closing. So that was part of the plan and the choices that I was able to make along the way.
Yeah, and so we have you doing part time, $60,000, 2022, in a year in a correcting market when everybody said, "Oh no, it's slow. It's a bad time to be a signing agent." What would you say to somebody who said, "Oh, the market's slow"?
Well, a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
And my answer to them, for me, was absolute focus.
Mm,
Some people, they like to diversify their business and do other things. And that actually made me decide, what is it I really want? And so I just put hyper focus, and I actually, push myself to stay in loan signings exclusively and just get higher paying jobs.
mhm. So 2022 hits, right? Interest rates go up, refinances dry up, purchases are still great, obviously. What's your mindset, right? So, I'm trying to dig into an amazing signing agent's mindset on that question, right? I mean, why didn't you panic? Why didn't you play poor me? What are some steps you took to refocus? I love that word focus because you're right. That's what it's about. So, what did you do to kind of refocus to make sure you still have that consistent $60,000 a year part time income?
Well, instead of focusing on the refis that weren't there, I
Mm,
said, where is the business? And,
mm,
it was really in purchases. And so I really sort of beefed up working direct
mhm.
with title companies and doing more purchases, where you can do fewer in the day, because in where I come from, you have to wait for funding. So it could take a couple hours sometimes. And you can make more money while you're doing it.
What I heard is the word pivot without you saying pivot, right?
Pivot, right?
You
That's a
you
good word for
you
it.
you pivoted, right? Doing the refi during COVID, it was a refi boom heaven. But moment the refi start drying up, you're like, look, I got to pivot my business. And what I love about that, that's the mindset of a successful business owner, right? It's not play victim. It's what you said. You literally just said 3 seconds ago, where is the business? So you was a very intentional pivot. It was okay. Refis are done, so I got to start focusing on lawyers and title companies that focus on purchases, and that's how you stay consistent with your income. And I hope everybody heard that right now, because yes, the refi stopped for every signing agent in America, but that didn't mean you can't pivot your business. That doesn't mean you can't, to use your word, focus or refocus on where the streams of revenue are. Um, Again, I love these conversations because in real time, you've pivoted your business. Kind of talk about this pivot that you made, targeting new title companies that specialize in purchases versus refi. Like, what did that process of moving your business over look like?
So it was really a matter of just following the blueprint I started with,
Mm-hmm.
several years ago, and finding the title companies and introducing myself.
Yeah.
And, fortunately, I had a level of experience, or, I know one woman who was retired, and she actually had been a CPA, and she walked into title companies similarly. And she said, I have no experience. I haven't done anything. I was a CPA, but I really want to do this business. And boom, they hired her.
You said something so nonchalant that I think everyone needs to hear. So
Okay.
I asked you, what did you do to pivot? Well, you said, well, I just found the title companies who were doing purchases and I introduced myself. My point is like, that's right. I think people overthink the business, right? It's like, look, I'm going to find the attorneys doing purchases and I'm going to walk in, I'm going to introduce myself. I think a lot of signing agents overthink what you said so like simply because that's all you had to do. You had to go find the lawyers and the title companies doing purchases, and nobody can hire you if they don't know you're open for business. And it was
Right.
just so second nature to you. And I want people to hear that, right? Because that's what successful signing agents do. They're like, well, I'm just going to go in and tell this person I'm a signing agent. And it really is that simple. And you said it just so confidently and so matter of fact. It's just like, well, Mark, I found title companies, did purchases, and went and introduced myself. And really, it is that simple, though. I mean, look, the conversations are a little bit, but really on the surface of this conversation, it's really that simple. What say you?
I mean, I agree. It's simple, and there's something to be said for experience, and I don't necessarily mean that in an age, but something to be said just for having experience. People do value that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that went a long way. People would listen to what I had to say. And also, the other focus was, it's really about them. It's not about me when I walk in.
Ooh. Go deeper, please. Drop some fire.
Well, so I mean, I basically, it's their business that I want to be able to enhance.
Hmm.
If it's all about me, I mean, then I'm whining for work. In fact, since it did get slow, I'll tell you one thing I did do since it got slower. Even the title companies have been slower with purchases. So I called up all my clients and added some clients. And I said, look, I know you're slow. And so even, and then a lot of them were just giving all the work to one person or two people. I said, just send me up to one a week, up to one closing a week. That's it. And then, when the refis come back, then, we'll still be, we'll still have
Yeah.
a relationship and, they'll still be a client basically. And so that's it. So that's what they're doing. They're getting me at least that one a week. And if you've got 20 clients sending you one a week, it's like golden.
Okay, there's a couple things I want people. I hope everybody heard. And again, you say this so matter of factly, and that's why I like bringing successful signing agents on because it becomes ingrained in your business, right? And you said it's not about me. You literally say, "Well, it's not about me, Mark." And I think
I don't
when
know
that,
if I sounded that passive, but go ahead.
but I think it's a beautiful thing because your business is so predicated on serving that it's really just what I said. It's just like it's not about me. Like it's become a fabric of your business that I believe you said it so nonchalantly because it's so enriched in who you are as a business owner. And I think what you just said, and you also said in that same breath, is like if I come off any other way, I come off whiny. And it's because you understand that business isn't about me, it's about them. And if it's any other way, I look desperate versus trying to help somebody. And you said that again, so just matter of factly because it's part of who you are. And so I think you should be proud of that. I'm proud of that, by the way. And
Thank you.
I hope other people hear this because it's not about you. And when that clicks, right, business really becomes easier. Am I correct?
It absolutely does when it's about the other person.
And you said something else, which I love. I don't think people understand this idea of digging wider sometimes. When it's a busy market, you dig deeper. What do I mean by that? When it's a busy market, you focus on 2 or 3 clients giving you 10 a week. You're like, look, you are my 2 or 3. I'll say no to everybody else, but I can stay with you because you're going to feed me 10 or so a week. But as we slow down, you said it so perfectly. If I can get 20 to give me 1, I'm golden. And I don't think signing agents have that mentality in a correcting market. It's like, well, my 2 or 3 are only giving me 3 a week. Well, because you're choosing not to dig wider. You're still choosing to dig deeper when the market isn't saying you should dig deeper. The market's saying you should dig wider. And when you're like, Mark, I just do 20 clients, 1 a week, you're making $60,000 a year part-time. And it's really kind of a numbers game. And what I love about that is you really broke it down into a very matter of fact mathematical equation. 20 clients, 1 a week, you're still cruising along. And so, girl, you dropping fire right now, Barbara. I hear these little nuggets and what I love is when I hear these nuggets from you students where it's almost like, oh, that was fire, but it just becomes something you do so innately. And you just knew immediately you had to dig wider. And I hope everyone watching this is listening. It's not that Barbara is busy because one client's giving her 20 a week. And I think that's the mentality, Barbara, of signing agents who say it's slow. They're expecting more from one officer,
Right.
but that's not realistic in this market. So like you also said, no, it's not so nonchalantly as you just got to go introduce yourself.
It seems very matter of fact to me.
Well, it's beautiful. And I hope it becomes matter of fact to everybody. That's why I bring you on, you successful students on, is because I want them to see how you think. I want you to see how you pivot. I want them to see how you react. And honestly, such a good conversation. So let's go to this next sentence, a question I ask every one of you successful students. And that is, if you only could have one piece of advice to give another signing agent how to grow their business, what would your one piece of advice be?
So it's really more than just one, but it all goes together. First of all, knowledge is important. Knowledge is power. So that's the first thing.
Dive deeper into that. What do you mean? How does that apply to a signing agent? Why should a signing agent get smarter? Like, talk through that to help them.
So knowledge about the business, knowledge about what you're doing, knowledge about how to do a signing even. And I never think, education is one and done. I think it's ongoing
Mm-hmm.
throughout our career. And that's the one thing that I have stuck with is
Mm-hmm.
that I got my foundation, my blueprint, I followed it, and
Mm-hmm.
then I kept growing on that in terms of education. So knowledge about your business and knowledge about your industry, know what's going on in the economy. And, I think you can better make those fluctuations we talked about in your last question when we have that knowledge.
Oh, that's so good. I mean, you're right. When you have a knowledge industry, you actually become less full of anxiety because you know what's around the corner. You know how to pivot. You know that this is the moment to dig wider. I think a
And
lot
freak
of
out.
you don't freak out. Said it better than me. And I think a lot of people freak out solely because they don't have the industry knowledge, but that's a choice they're making, right? They're choosing not to read the news. They're choosing not to read the money section of the newspaper. They're choosing not to go to Yahoo Finance. You are. And so that allows you to make more decisions that will move your business forward versus a panic, which happened a lot. But I think a lot of people panic just because they weren't understanding what was going on, which again, knowledge is power, right? So, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
you say so many things, Barbara. I got to get in there and expound on because there's such good points.
So knowledge is the one thing, and then also not just about the industry, but also about what you're doing, how to be a signing agent, and how to be the most incredible signing agent. And that's ongoing. That's staying on top of your craft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's always something new to know, whether it's your laws changing or just sort of diving deeper as time goes on and understanding your documents that you're
Mm-hmm.
presenting. So that's the knowledge component, but it's nothing without integrity. And
Mm.
yeah, you can know everything in the world. And, if, care about the work that you deliver, uh, you're not going to make it.
What I love about these interviews is I really find out why you were so successful. You have to care about your work. I love that phrase. You putting the client first is not a cliche. The motto of your business, that's not even the right word. It's like, it's just the fabric of everything you do. Like you have to care about your work. You have to put the client first. It's not about you, it's about them. And so every corner we
Mhm.
turn, it comes back to the same ethos and the same principles. And it really is putting the client first. Why do you care so much? Because it's not about you, right? You care about your work because it's about them. You're trying to make sure their loan funds, they get paid their commissions, their client moves in the house on time. It's not about you. I hope everyone's getting inspired by Barbara right here because she's telling you how she's built her business so consistently over 5 years. You keep saying these things, Barbara, and it's so good, so much fire. Keep talking about integrity. I think you can talk about it for a while.
Yeah, so integrity about the work that you deliver, about how you represent yourself in front of your clients' clients.
Mhm.
Uh, that's really important. How you follow up on things. I always love the lesson on it's not that you make a mistake, it's how you fix it.
Mhm.
And that is like the mantra of this business. I get
Mhm.
so many people calling me, freaking out because they made a mistake. And I'm like, stop. This is how we fix it. And, some of it comes intuitive to some people. Like when
Right.
I tell them they already did that, they already called the person. Like,
Right.
don't surprise the person who's hired you.
Right.
If something went wrong, tell them, you know, so they can fix whatever it is that they have to fix, but no surprises. And that all falls into the integrity category.
I mean, Barbara, like I said, you were my 60 something interview. No one's ever used the word integrity. I mean, that's why I love doing this. Everyone's different. Everybody has a different way of building their business or communicating what they value so much. And what you value so much is it's about them. And like care what, I'm looking at my notes, like care about your work. I think too many times signing agents, it's a race on getting out there in 45 minutes, right? So who can do the quickest sign? Like the badge of honor to some signing agents, like, oh, that only took me 30 minutes and I made $150. We see that in the Facebook group, right? As opposed to that took 65 minutes, but you know what? We had a great conversation. Every I was dotted, every T was crossed. We made sure I double tripped it. Like people aren't saying that. They're saying, oh, that was the easiest money I made, but that's not coming out of your mouth, right? This is somebody who takes the business very serious. And frankly, if I had to be honest with you, is I think that's because of your wisdom. I think growing as you get older, you really understand that business is not about you. When you're young and hungry, it's all about you. You know what I mean? It's like how fastest dollar. I think as you grow, you understand that, and you've been come longer in the business world, you really understand what makes business tick.
I have to agree with you because I just had a flash of several decades and how I was motivated in my 20s or 30s and even 40s, and then how it started to change. Work has come easier.
Mm-hmm.
Business has come easier
Mm,
as a result of going, it's not the end of the world. We fix it.
that's right.
And it's all about that person, not me.
That's right.
So,
And
yeah,
so, and what I love is it becomes easier to fix mistakes when you actually realize it's not about you, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I prevented your borrow from moving in. Like, I'm so sorry. What do I got to do? It's switching that frame of mind, like you just said. Barbara, you are giving
exactly.
so much fire in this interview. Thank you so much for this conversation. Let's kind of move the last part of this conversation. Probably one of my most consistent students, 60, 60, 60, 70, 60. Like, I mean, honestly, numbers are unbelievable. You saw people during COVID in our family making 120 grand in their sleep, $150,000 in their sleep. Why didn't that discourage you?
So I made a choice. I mean, I was actually prepared to go full time, and then
Mhm.
10 days later, everything shut down. And, I had my mother I was taking care of. So I made a decision
Mm.
to work the same that I had been working, instead of going,
Mhm.
full time, so that it would be safe for her, for me to be
Mhm.
around her, that I wasn't dragging pandemic wherever I
Right.
went. And so that was important. And then I can look back and say, I definitely, the other part of it is that it definitely gave me all the time I wanted with my
Mhm.
mother.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I ask that because, I tell you students that like comparison is a thief of joy, right? It's like, you can still root somebody else on and still be present on what you're doing. And so,
Oh, yeah.
during COVID, the numbers were ridiculous. And some people were feeling like I'm failing because I'm not making $10,000 a month, right? But you chose to see the other side of the hourglass, which was like, I am winning because I'm able to do X, Y, Z. So you really stayed focused on what brought you happiness and brought you joy instead of, because what's wrong with the world today, in my opinion, is it's Instagram perfect. Everybody's doing something better, right? But if you can get back centered on what makes you happy instead of playing a comparison game, that's why I asked you that, right? Because you could have done $100,000 in the pandemic.
Easily, absolutely easily. You know what, though? I can look back now, having made those decisions, and there's no
Mhm.
regrets.
Yeah.
And nobody wants regrets. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's beautiful. I didn't know how that you were going to answer that question, by the way. But I knew it was going to be enlightening from the standpoint of just focus on your own race, right? And you had time with your mom, and that's a beautiful thing. And, I'm going to bring it back to our 60 and 70 something students. It is one of the beautiful parts about this business, the flexibility that it does give you to make the choices you want, as to be with family or whatnot. Talk through that so they can get a better sense of the real true work life balance this gives you.
yeah, the truth of it is, I mean, you make your own hours. The beauty of it is, you can be full time available because you're making your own schedule and get yourself the better jobs. So that's terrific. But, you know, a lot of us have parents to take care of. A lot of people have grandkids. I mean, that's it. It's all over as far as I've heard that once you have grandkids. So who cares how much money you're putting in the bank? It's supplementing my social security, and I'm making 60,000 on top of it. So I think it's the balance, and the balance also
Mhm.
in terms of your interests. I have a lot of hobbies, and who doesn't want to have time for those? So it's really just a nice complement to the rest of your life.
Mhm.
That's how I find it.
No, I love it. I think you said something too, which I think might perk up some ears. You said it supplements your Social Security. It really is one of those businesses that could, supplement the retirement, whether it's Social Security or 401ks, whatever. It still gives you the
Pension.
freedom, pension, gives you the freedom of being with your grandchildren or your parents as you get older, your parents age. And I love how you were able to spend a lot of time with your mom as that was happening for you. And so, again, thank you for sharing all that, because I'm trying to relate this to maybe somebody who's watching it who's 60, 70 years old. So let's head to that last question. So the last question is really about trying to help somebody make the decision to be a signing agent, right? Everybody before they start this journey has this moment of hesitation, right? What was that moment of hesitation for you? Now looking back 5 years later, you're like, dude, what was I even hesitant about?
Well, so the hesitation for me, and I think I touched on it already. The hesitation for me was, am I going to be able to have balance in my life? Am I going to be able to do this and take care of my mom and, whatever the end is?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the big hesitation for me.
Was the hesitation of like, this is not a job, this is a business. And like any business, there is a ramping phase. So was your hesitation like during the ramping phase, knowing that, like signings don't fall from the sky, like was I going to be able to build this while still have the rest of my life? Because you probably realize that there was going to need some effort to build the business in the beginning. Am I kind of close?
Oh, yeah.
Not close. Okay.
There's still effort. Sure.
Right. I think you're right. I think people, regardless of age, go like, man, am I going to be able to build a business? Because this requires real effort and real time. I have to go market my business. Can I really do all of that and X? So I think this hesitation is very real. And so how did you kind of work through that?
I think, well, the hesitation was, the balance. The hesitation was also, having experienced ageism, was I going to be up against that again?
Ooh.
And while I would say, it could probably still happen, I would say 90% of the time, nobody notices. Unless you're making a ton of mistakes, nobody notices anything wrong with you or about you or what color your hair is or anything. So that was the hesitation.
Well, no, again, I appreciate you. It's funny, I can't relate to that. And it's just so terrible that it even exists. The funny part is that you'd think the older you are, the more you'd want to hire them because they've been around and their wisdom you can't pay for, right?
And the point is, though, a lot of us of a certain age, will want to supplement income and get a job or whatever. And everybody knows we're working way below.
Yes.
We're completely underemployed and we're working way below what we're used to earning. And the fact of the matter is, if you do this business right, even on a part-time basis, you can be making a decent income that's appropriate for your age and your effort. And that wouldn't be the case otherwise in other businesses, going to work for someone else, like becoming a barista or something, that older people do, or where they work at Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
They're not making $175 for a purchase with a title company.
It's funny. I never thought about it like that, Barbara. I'm gonna find myself getting sad. It's like,
it is sad.
Yeah. And
it's reality.
I've never thought about it. And like, I'm stumbling on my words because I'm trying to process what you said there. It's like, you can finally earn what you deserve, right? It's almost cliche to be like, oh, they don't pay what you deserve. But frankly, as you get older, you have all these years of wisdom and experience, work experience specifically. And to think that they're not paying you because, what you deserve after 45, 50 years, whatever of experience.
And underemployed. You get underemployed when you want to get side work at a certain age.
Yeah, I never even, again,
skill set. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all this because, it definitely enlightens me and inspires me more actually to go help more of, the 60 and 70-year-olds in this country, because this really is the best business in the world because age, color, sex, creed, it's almost cliche to say it's not relevant, but it really isn't relevant in this industry. And if you can do the job,
agreed.
It's really cool. And it's probably my favorite thing about the business, that anyone who's willing to work hard can succeed. There's very few businesses where you can really say that, right? Because It's just a numbers game. You said the math so perfectly. 20 title companies, one signing, 20 a month, you're golden. But it's like going to the 20 title companies. It's like if you can go to the 20, you will get business. And so it's like it really rewards effort like very few. And if you are in your 20s or your 70s, whoever goes to the most title companies wins. Right? It really is that simple. And so I love that you shared that your age bracket should not be underemployed. It's actually a joke. I'm finding myself getting mad all of a sudden because it's definitely not fair, not cool. Let's wrap up the conversation with this. It's somebody, regardless of age, is just kind of like, man, do I do this? Do I not do this? I mean, encourage someone to believe in themselves and to just go all in. What would you say to that?
I mean, I would say, do it. Do you want to be sort of looked at like you're old, or do you want to be respected? And if you're delivering the right job, delivering your work properly or impeccably, you're going to be respected. So it's as easy as that. I say go for it. There's no age in the way.
I love it. And I think this is an appropriate time for me to be very excited to announce that Barbara Hill is the new New Jersey loan signing system ambassador. So if you're in the state of New Jersey, you need some of her wisdom, you need some of her knowledge. She's there to support. And so, what I loved about this is now I really know why you're the perfect ambassador. It's not about you. Your business isn't about you. It's about your clients, right? You really come from this place of I want to give. And it's not just to others. It's like to your clients. This is my favorite saying is like, care about the work that you do. And that's because of how much you care about the person you serve. And so you just want to serve the community. New Jersey's lucky to have you. I'm lucky that you said yes to the position. So thank you so much for not only this interview, thank you for being selfless to the New Jersey community. I will put a link to her Facebook group down below. But Barbara Hill, you're amazing. And I can't wait to see you this summer at conference.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Bye.
Bye.